Okay, next stop was Duffryn. The driver told me to get off here, though I thought it's going to be the next stop, so I'm a little bit confused at the moment. Anyway, maps out. I can do it. I can conquer the unfamiliar. As with any property of significance, the gardens were carefully curated. In the 1880s, historians recorded the plan of an intricate garden maze, likely dating back to the reign of Elizabeth I. Today, there are 3 main garden areas that are each enclosed by brick walls. First, as we arrive, is an area with plants collected by explorers, with an adjoining walled garden. There was also once a hothouse in which pineapples and other exotic fruits were cultivated. Possessing fruits like pineapples at the time was a status symbol of wealth. It was even the case that you could rent pineapples to put on your tables at parties. Of course, trying to import fruit from South America meant it rotted by the time it reached British shores. Growing them in Britain meant that people had a chance to try this unusual fruit of the time. A careful formulation of manure and bark allowed the successful growth of pineapples inside the hothouse. As you can see here, some hothouses had a sophisticated piping network that transported heat to warm the hothouse. The hothouse here has clearly gone, but the piping remains. As background to Tredegar House has to be knowing about the Morgan family. The Morgans claimed descent from ancient Welsh princes and dominated the social and political landscape of South Wales for half a century. Successive generations served as members of Parliament, and the Tredegar House estate arguably became their most lasting legacy. One of the Morgan figures included Godfrey Morgan. He was noted as a military hero who survived the charge of the Light Brigade in 1854. One of the last Morgans to occupy Tredegar House was also one of the most eccentric. Evan Morgan was a recognised homosexual despite being married twice, including to a Russian princess, while at the same time he was considered a bohemian and at times odd or eccentric. He dabbled in the occult and became known for the dancing or boxing kangaroos that he kept on his property, along with animals such as penguins and parrots. It was perhaps apt that he was put in charge of carrier pigeons during the Second World War, but he ended up revealing the secret of the pigeons to some women in town, and that got him into some trouble. And among the many other phases he went through, he at one point converted to Catholicism and was known for driving around Rome in a Rolls Royce that had an altar in the back seat. Next is the Cedar Garden with a massive 250-year-old Cedar of Lebanon tree in the centre. This part of the garden is the final resting place for Sir Briggs, that's Godfrey Morgan's horse that he rode in the charge of the Light Brigade. It is marked by a granite obelisk monument surrounded by a circular yew hedge. Several of the Morgan household's dogs were also buried here. The third garden area, in front of the orangery building, contains a parterre. This was revealed during excavation works in the 1990s, and attempts have been made to restore this garden to the original design. A parterre, which is a garden feature that derives from France, is a formal flat landscaping, which in this particular instance was decorated by symmetrical gravel patterns. The patterns become revealed when viewed from an upper window or a terrace. The gravel could be made up of crushed stone or shells or bricks, enabling different colours. The orangery. The orangery is typically a place to display citrus trees, another type of plant that is tricky to grow in the British climate. During Evan Morgan's time, he housed a lot of his birds here. Inside the building is an extraordinary 42-foot long table made from a single oak plank. This table might look like a dining table, but it is actually a game table for an activity called shovelboard. It's kind of like air hockey or curling with brass discs on a tabletop. The 17th century stables are as highly ornamented and imposing as the main house. They are most famous for being the home of Sir Briggs, the horse bought by the Morgans in 1851. Godfrey Morgan rode Sir Briggs through what the poet Alfred Tennyson called the Valley of Death during the Battle of Balaclava in 1854 during the War of Crimea. This was a disastrous battle, and Godfrey Morgan and Sir Briggs were among the few survivors of either animals or humans. The brigade misinterpreted the instructions they received, and instead of going to recover weapons, they rode straight into the Russian army. Despite receiving a knife cut or a sword cut to the eye, the horse survived the Crimean War and returned to Wales to live in retirement until he died at age 28. And inside the house there's actually a painting that documents Godfrey Morgan standing askance his horse in the middle of a tumultuous battlefield scene. Coming out of the stables is a large courtyard where horses and carriages would once be received. Going through the entrance gates before the house, the initials of John Morgan and his wife Martha were added as an embellishment at the top in the 1700s. While the earliest parts of the house date to the late 15th century, the structure you see today was built between 1664 and 1672. William and Blanche Morgan used red brick, which was a rare and expensive material in 17th century Wales, to create a quadrangular mansion that engulfed its stone Tudor predecessor. It is considered one of the most outstanding Restoration period houses in all of Britain. Inside, the house is a masterclass in 17th century craftsmanship. The gilt room retraced the footsteps of the Morgans in this glistening entertainment space, once the heart of their social life. During the Tudor era, the room was originally white, but during the Victorian era, dark panels went up to conceal the original interior wall.
They seem very dark rooms, don't they? These Victorian rooms.
It is very Victorian.
And this is one situation for the morning room, but you would never bother being here in the morning. It doesn't get morning sun. I think, for it to be a small library and things like that would be much more appropriate. No, but this I think so reflects. All of that was so it's appropriate.
Send it
or again.
And 3 upstairs. So that's open. There's nothing to, you have 3 upstairs. I was upstairs Saturday morning.
I've been upstairs.
Yeah, but that's lovely because you can dance in the story. And I was saying to people, yeah, that one room. And I was saying, I'm not going to tell you anything about.
Film location. Tredegar House has been the filming site for multiple shows and movies, most notably for the long-standing British TV series Doctor Who. For example, the cellar doubled as Lady Cassandra's lair in the episode New Earth in 2006, and the dining room was used as the home of computing pioneer Charles Babbage in the episode called Spyfall in 2020.
Apparently there is one that's still connected, but that's what I've been told, but I can't seem to find out which one it is.
Because I asked Nick and he said no, they can't.
Oh, maybe, Oh, it's cold here. It's certainly chilly. No, I know.
Explore the bustling below stairs area, complete with an enormous cauldron and high ceilings designed for preparing massive feasts. According to the guide on duty here, when I visited, he said that the blue walls were intended to prevent flies from being attracted to the kitchen. So I don't know if that's really true, but perhaps you can let me know in the comments. At the top of the lamp in the courtyard, can you see perhaps the pineapple motif? The servants' dining room. This space used to have a much higher ceiling height. At some point in the 20th century, the height was lowered. You therefore have to imagine what this huge space used to look like, full of servants who at some times of the year enjoyed their own parties. Now, there are some controversial aspects to the Morgan family. As the largest landowners in the region, the Morgans represented the established political system that the Chartists sought to reform. So the Chartists were very active in Wales, and they were essentially a working men's group that were trying to get better rights to vote. Now, the connection between the house and the uprising involves several key family members. Sir Charles Morgan, now he became the primary focus of Chartist anger in Newport, and to protect Tredegar House from potential attack, he hired lots of constables of the time and guards to stand watch over the estate. Then there was Octavius Morgan, that was Sir Charles's brother, and Octavius played a significant legal role as a member of the grand jury that determined which Chartists would stand trial. He was a staunch opponent of the movement, and he actively lobbied officials for the execution of the prisoners, though their sentences were eventually commuted to transportation. And by that I mean that they were transported or forced to the penal colonies in Australia. The house is set in 90 acres of landscaped parkland, which is actually just a fraction of the family's original vast holdings. The lake on the grounds was a favourite spot for Evan Morgan. A family friend recalled that when Evan called out "Rosa, Rosa" towards the reeds, his pet duck would come skimming across the water to meet him. These days, the lake has ducks, swans and geese that inhabit the lake, and you can spend a good 45 minutes having a leisurely walk around the lakeside edge. The Gorsedd stone circle is an interesting feature in the Tredegar House parkland, or at least it seems to be, because disappointingly they are not prehistoric or legendary. These stones were put here for the 1998 National Eisteddfod, which is Wales' biggest festival of culture, and I believe actually one of the biggest festivals in the whole of Europe, and which moves location each year. The 12 stones in this circle represent the 12 old counties of Wales. The central flat stone was intended as a spot for the archdruid to announce the festival's beginning. Well, here's me waiting at the bus stop, which is signposted on Google Maps and which looks like a legit bus stop. However, after about half an hour of waiting, a woman came along to say that the bus back to Newport departs from the other side of the road, i.e. the same stop that I got dropped off at when I arrived.